Sandbox. And logically speaking, if you have seen the previous game between these two, G2 was the more dominant force, and they hope to do it again.
I'm kind of curious to see what lessons both these teams have learned, because it's not always you get a chance to see a sort of map brought back where both teams have experience. Usually sometimes they'll go, oh, we've seen them play this, we can take them there, we can sort of stretch the boards. There's obviously a big pool and a big possibility, and outside of preferences, yeah, there's been... it's not that it's been so consistent, but seeing a lot of theme is from no theme. It's like
from no theme
it's
to
really
100 real quick.
Yeah, it's like really put the medal down.
So, as events come through, we see Thatcher removed and the Nuck as well. Mira, which is going to be the first offensive operator, and wouldn't be surprised to see a Valkyrie or Arcade, maybe even a Zami to be removed from the board by G2.
Well, there it is.
I mean, I named 3 operators, so
you did name 3 operators.
Get one.
You did name 3 very
often
banned operators. You named
hey, I still got it right.
You did, technically. I mean, that's, you know, it's like multiple choice, but you took that as you could make multiple choices.
I made the question, G2 answered it. So, I'm rethrowing the first one that we had to G2 on the defense.
How is this going to thread itself here? Obviously, when we were on Chalet, it's a very attacker-driven map before, and it was something that G2 did pretty well. They were quick, sharp, they were able to rock and roll some Candelas at points down into the heart of the Sandbox's hold here. Sandbox, they'll be the ones obviously starting on this attack swing round. They can try and get themselves locked in, and I guess put some of that energy down. They've just come off the back of the game. They've come off the back of having a bit of warm-up, having a bit of time, having a bit of, well, something to siege to competitive level to this point. Obviously, G2 have been warming up, but there's that difference of what do you prefer, coming in to a team that's just rolled off the back of a win, or being the team that's just rolled in off the back of a win.
At least Prano didn't fall into the water right
this time.
This time, yes. So maybe that's going to be helping them in the performance here against Sandbox. Might hurt them. Who knows? So, you know, it is warm. It could be a buff. I don't know. It's like I've never had it happen to me myself when I had a game and suddenly I became wet due to falling into a pond. But G2 on that defense, aggressive. Prano on the roam is looking to find an early pick somewhere around the cache area. It is being droned though. Good Boy sends his first, hoping to find a bit of information. Now, he did see a couple of tracers pass by, so he is fully aware there is someone roaming about. Just need to pinpoint that location, try and put all guns into the right direction, and maybe even isolate it with a piece of utility.
A steady push back here from Prano. He doesn't want to be the only one caught out on the far side. Obviously, there is a big stretch of this. MV Taylor's trying to find the feet of player through the crutch on the drone hole itself. They're looking for a bit of control. They're looking for a bit of space. He's sort of forcing Shepard. Child, he's inside onto the computer's side. He's just going to get that swung round towards initiation. Harakaze got the top of Dragon Stairs. It's setting itself up to be a pretty standard take. Then likely to drop down the floor and put pressure on it. But MV Taylor, who have you seen? Ooh, no one yet. They're going to pull themselves away to the bathroom.
Just a single player in the side, though. It's only Alamau. And of course, he has a couple of keeper berries. He can slow down the attack if it does finally come through. But if Sandbox do realize this, they can just pull the trigger and head in from the Gong side. And you might be able to just shut down Alamau on the side to make the defenders play the retake game from the get-go. So, keep that in mind. As the rest of Sandbox currently tries to continue to take the top floor fully under control.
A minute 20 left, and, well, nobody's had a direct altercation as of yet. As I said, it's a shepherding game, and G2 have decided, well, we've done enough around the rest of the site. There's a minute. We'll can hold onto the site for a minute. They still have these. The catches of Wumais. There's a burn of an ADS. There's one more. There's one more. There's the break. There's another throw of a disc just in the mix of that. And then they have the long-range impact. Well practiced. Perfectly played. Static. You've got one more of these, son. You've got to make sure that it counts, but they've got one just the same. Alamau didn't have to change anything. The C4 didn't quite get anything. There's the break, and there is the wall actually open. Static finds the side of Virtue as well. Static finds one more behind the chassis. Almost connects with a third. Prano suffers massive amounts of damage. MV Taylor's rotating around on the backside of the bottom of yellow stairs, trying to put pressure onto Split and catch them. But 30 seconds now, and they've only been able to obviously get this single breach. Citizen, he's rotating his way. He wants to push further. Doki gets dropped down around the back of the throw, and there's Citizen popping up towards Split inside. They need to try and put the pressure onto Jackal as they're going to see if they can stick the plant itself. They're watching the flank. They're watching for the position. There's a long-range impact. It won't do enough. A post-plant situation. Prano and Citizen, all that is. Here's the first fight. As I said, take the Jackal. You now have a bit of width. You can now focus yourself potentially towards a rotation round. Prano obviously still buried to the middle. There's Static. Lost. He swung himself. Sandbox once again going a little bit too aggressive. Holding onto the breach side. Holding onto the split. Onto the door.
No,
Citizen. He's able to find his fourth. Prano gets Good Boy. Picked apart one at a time. But Citizen, he is not dying.
That must be a really upsetting round for Sandbox there. Everything went well, Emmy. A 5-on-2 situation. The plant is down. All you need to do is slow them down just enough. But Citizen, he finds them one by one, a head after another. Not given the ace in the end. But of course, you saw that yesterday when they were in Oregon. Doki said, I could have killed him, but I wanted to give them the ace. And suddenly Yeti managed to put 4 kills onto the board before it was Prano that ended that round. As he does here, making sure that the round is secure and finding themselves their first. 5 more to go, G2, and you find yourselves in playoffs. We are counting down.
It's like, if there was an audience, 5 more rounds.
Exactly. That would be the NA chant.
No, it wouldn't be that. Creative Sandbox. Should have been yours, and I think, you know, it's tricky. Obviously, you can never really count for a player pulling off a huge play. Players can do that. Citizen can do that. Loads of people in this game can do that. But it's not something to be counted on. It's more something to, I guess, if you're in our position, yeah, hope for and enjoy watching. But still, the positioning that they had, Static swinging around, the impacts were being thrown. At that point, he sort of threw his life. The hyper-aggressive position that the Jackal was in, it was a bit of a swing round. They had a bit of a call there, but, you know, it becomes tricky. There was nobody sort of potentially putting pressure onto the vertical. They'd almost locked in Prano, who took a huge amount of damage and then just stayed still. Just stuck it and waited for, I guess, a little bit more work to be done.
I said in the last game that Sandbox played against the Soniqs as well. I was like, they are too aggressive. They just don't slow down. They have a massive advantage and they keep on taking gunfights when they don't need to. And that is kind of what you saw here as well. Everybody wanted to lock off Citizen there, especially when he got those 2 kills. It's like, okay, let's lock him off before he does too much damage. But then he gets a 3rd, then he gets a 4th, and Prano will lock it off and you lost the round instead. A 5v2 post plant. You shouldn't lose that, especially not with the openings they had. But that is history now. We'll be talking about it, of course, as the game progresses, as an important starting point for G2. Sandbox now is trying to get some control over that bottom floor, as they do need to attack the top of Arcade soon. A little shouting in the background, that's not our game.
That's not our game. No, unless Virtue was really happy.
Yeah, just
to get that
getting a drone. It's like, come on, let's go, boys, we got that drone.
Shyle, talking of drone, he's got a hot one heading up just ahead of him. The spray towards an angle there, giving themselves a bit of sight and a bit of control, but there's MV Taylor almost losing a Twitch drone. They're going to put full chase on, but Doki can't quite get the tail end. And he's going to pull himself background. He realizes with that movement of a Twitch drone, he's going to start finding his position under a little bit more and more stress. There's always grenades to bounce around. Good Boy has a chance at playing around some of those windows as well if they wanted to go for that sort of combo with any of the destructivity that comes across it. They're still sturdily watching, still able to take care of any of this arcade approach. And Sandbox, they're prodding, but they're not really getting too much out of it.
Still grenades in the pockets, though. One in Charles has to use that well. You might be able to find a player from G2 with that. E1Ds pop off. That means Good Boy is about to be swinging into the break room here. Is he going to be finding any kills, or will he be picked up is the big question. It is all G2 for now. Good Boy will strike from the back finally, though, but he gives his position away. Gets a second somehow. Sandbox still in this round at this moment.
Well, they have a ping on the player on Arcade Stairs. There's a believe one touch round onto Train. I assume that outline is the flash onto the backswing. They're trying to recollect that kit that's tucked in a tricky situation. Doki has it locked down with a heavy-hitting DMR. Good Boy's already taken some damage. It won't take much from that gun to end up as MV Taylor just pushes through the gate and into the guns of Doki. Good Boy will have to pull off an ace to take this round into the favor, and we'll have to do it in about 10 seconds. So you assume this is G2's to take. They're not overextending too much. They're happy to sort of sit and let them fall into them. There it is. Doki pops the set round, and G2 pop the second on the board.
4 more rounds to go as G2 here. Everybody who's watching in Berlin, let us hear it. But either way, 4 more rounds to go as G2 shut down Sandbox when it wanted to go for a quick push, a rush, as you may. The E1D to give some cover to hopefully force the G2 players to stand still and then Sandbox to act upon their information. But rather than picking up any kills, they basically lost everybody but Good Boy, who, the least sneaky operator of them all, managed to get 2 kills because they didn't know he was there. Now, initiation in office. We're going to see an extension towards the daycare and bunk. It seems like that will be the case. There is a slight opening that has been made. Walls are being reinforced towards the break room, ensuring themselves that if someone gets in, it won't be a tight angle instantly watched on that rotation. Rotations into daycare as well, just to make sure you can deal with a player that enters cafe in multiple ways. And as we continue, I think that is about the extension that we have.
One of the people, one of the players that we wanted to see a little bit more of throughout this whole tournament was Arakaze. Oh.
Okay, for a second I thought it was a team kill because it was that early, but it was a spawn peek.
Yeah, it was a spawn peek. Taken care of. The nice shot from Doki. He's removed off the board. MV Taylor isn't going to be caught just yet. So they had some of the read on that DMR. What I was saying here, actually ties into MV Taylor a little bit as well. We saw more of Arakaze in the previous game. We don't always see him on the role of Ossa. Usually, it's picked up by MV Taylor, who instead sees us with a smiley face. Got that opening kill there against Doki playing the Nomad. They want to control the positioning of G2. They want to make sure that those players might not be able to slip their way back round on the opposite side. I mean, it was Citizen that took that round from being able to get back onto the site and retake from the side of Split that lost them it. Alamau gets Good Boy, removes the Finker after his drive on the previous, and Shile is waiting.
That's a shield. Yeah, it's going to be hard to take the gunfight through that shield. Alamau takes a lot of damage though. Using that smoke canister to allow himself a way back towards the side. Grenades are being popped. Prana takes a small amount of damage, but nothing too major. At least I assume that was a grenade. Bit of an explosion. Hatches are being opened up as well. G2 slowly seeing that the pressure is mainly coming in from the Dragon side of the map. And of course, everything is currently aimed towards that direction. You have Prano all the way back near the cafe area, playing with his drones, with his yokai drones, of course, to make sure that there is no opportunity to go for a plant once finally Sandbox does arrive at the site.
They have another shield watching it. There was the ping on the air jab. You saw the Echo drone slip its way through into this side. There's a smoke canister that's just going to force them into a tricky position, but Static gets the kill in and amongst it. Had to try and force himself to a new place based on that, and they lose. Obviously, the smoke canister, they lose another player towards the site. Virtue, well, he can see right through that. Hold the smoke canister just to cover the rotation. Citizen setting up a couple more bandits. There it is, Shile. He was removed on the backside of that smoke. Citizen, he wants to swing his way around. Virtue gets one more. There's Citizen over the top. And once again, G2, they were suffering on the other side, and then they start to swing and slam their way back into the game. How many more rounds?
3 more rounds.
3 more rounds, G2. Perfect opener here for the 3-0. Now, Theme is a map that does lend itself well to defenders. But taking that perfect rotation gives them that extra step, gives them that extra little bit of movement, a little bit of wiggle room. And that's why Sandbox is just going to take this to have a timeout and a talk. How do you stop them?
They look a bit demotivated. I mean, I was just looking at them when the camera passed by their heads, and it's just like, it's like a sigh when they lose it. Like, of course, right? It's like that swing from Doki, the swing from Citizen. It's like, what do we do against it? They're just too quick. They are aggressive. They manage to pick us up time and time again, and we just can't respond. So it's a good time to go for that mental reset, to have the coach either motivate you or give you the pointers that are necessary strategical-wise so you can stop G2. Because, you know, normally we say, okay, if it is a flawless half, there is still a comeback possible. It is a game of 2 halves. However, if it's a flawless half for G2, your story's done. That's it. You're going home. You're not going to playoffs. So they need to prevent that from happening. They need to find at least a single attacking round. Preferably 2. It will be absolutely perfect if they get 3. That's if they want to have a fight or chance to fight at a major. And as well, I'm gonna also say this: if G2 get 2 more rounds, then they keep their options open, because even if they would still lose, you see here they need a regulation win. But even if it's a 7-5 regulation win, all G2 need to do is win 3 rounds against NIP. And I know it's like it's all they need to do. It's a bit harder than FaZe. Sorry, I keep on saying NIP for some reason.
Yeah, they're in
FaZe. They're in a different group. They're playing Rogue, but need to win 3 rounds. And of course, that's easier said than done. But it does make sure that G2 still have it in their own hands afterwards, and they don't even need to win for it.
It is that sort of death knell, isn't it? OT is the end. They find a win, it's 31%, and they can sort of sit back and watch behind their fingers, probably holding as if it's a horror film. G2 versus FaZe. G2, I mean, they've got off to as perfect a start as you could possibly get here. 3 rounds. 3 rounds across their defense. They're still far from over in this game, but they've definitely made a big statement on how they want to continue, because it's not just Citizen that's been taking these big moves. Rounds, all of them have been able to find themselves generally having a big positive kill impact, let alone the use of smokes, the use of utility to buy themselves a little bit more time. Sandbox, how can you structure around a team that just loves to fight back?
That is a big question, and right now I think Sandbox might be a bit too spread out, right? You see some from the west, some from the east going for the attack, and generally there's no one really ever able to go for a refrag. You just get swung on and they're backing cover and no one is there to try and fight it. And that is how they keep on losing members. It is G2 that is using their speed and their accuracy to try and outplay Sandbox. Now, I said it before, this side there's only a single person actually on the side, and that is going to be Alamau. If they do manage to take it under control whilst the rotations are starting to come in, it could be a very quick round, but they lack the accuracy here to lock it off.
Good boy. Tried to find a fight with Alamau over the top there. We remember there was a big juggle of utility and of a C4 that didn't quite get anybody, but they did get one of the exothermics with the long-range impact trick. It's well rehearsed, well played. Alamau's got himself stacked up as the burn starts to come through. There's a play against it, tucked as low as possible to make sure that that high impact doesn't get it.
Did get it.
Did get it.
Second one
you
will
have to,
be,
wait, like...
Yeah, it's like, did it stop? Did it stop? They do know that he's out there with the impact. They just droned it, and the exothermic is still in pocket here for Static, so they are looking for a different opportunity. They need to find a way to clear the player from using that impact. However, these keeper barriers are blocking that line of sight. It just saw him pass by. Arakazi didn't have the opportunity to fire upon him, though, as Good Boy will find Citizen. That's a massive pick.
That is, because he was the man that took this round back last time, but you're looking at 30 seconds. They've gone for a big pick-up sticks. They've left the exothermic on the pocket. They've pulled it off the wall. Narakaze goes down in the meantime. They're looking at a drop drone onto the hatch itself. Static. He's repositioned here. Gonna see if they can get an entrance onto yellow. There's a breach that's coming over the top. There's a grenade just to get rid of that mute jammer, the adrenal surge, and still some play, but 10 seconds. And now that is only being popped open. Virtue. Hello. He goes for 1, goes for 2. Rebuilds the wall. There's the 3rd. He doesn't get the 4th. The final player on the far side. And that is a heck of a play by the Aussie.
They're howling into the background there. He saw the wall open. He's like, do I dig in or do I just run at it? And he's like, you know what? Let me just run at it with a shotgun there. Finds 2, turns around for the 3rd. Unfortunately, in the middle of the weapon swap and couldn't be able to find the 4th. But G2 needing 2 more rounds to be able to go to the main stage, to be able to play at that main stage in front of all the Siege fans coming to Berlin, either currently traveling or coming in tomorrow.
4-0.
Haven't heard the crowd yet saying 2 more rounds.
I hear them.
You hear them? Okay, sorry.
I hear them at the G2 facility, not too far away.
Yes, for sure. They're probably tweeting along with us, you know.
2 more rounds.
2 more rounds.
I don't know if they want to... Well, I was going to say, I don't know if the socials want to risk the bad luck, but they often do, actually.
They do like to risk bad luck.
They love risking it. The players as well.
It is more impressions if you lose out now after you tweeted out about it 20 million times.
That's true.
Impressions, all that matter.
That's it. Oh, it's all for impressions. 4-0 G2 and a perfect start. Well, gets the same amount of perfect. You can't get more perfect than perfect. They're going to see if they can keep driving that all the way across the half, and it doesn't really look like there's a way to stop it. Static! Great take there. They're very good at that game. 2 for 2 in terms of finding the player, going for the peek onto those windows. This time the trade between Static and Prano.
Yeah, the spawn peek's not really working out for G2 there, and I think, you know, Prano was in quite a good spot, but it was a bit of a shoulder peek, right? He checked and then he went back and he knew someone was there as the traces came through, used that big scope to his advantage, and Static finds the kill. Prano knocked out, no more discs being generated, keep that in mind. There's also no Jaeger on the board, so grenades become a lot more valuable now.
Good boy. Hasn't really been able to have a huge connection with this game as of yet. To be fair, not many players of Sandbox have, but in a game against big gunners, you want your young gunner to step in, see if he can sort of toe-to-toe with the heat itself. The pressure, trying to rise up and cook and bubble from around Drug in the bottom of the stair set. Nobody currently in the tucked train position.
Yeah, I was standing on concrete as well with a reinforced wall next to it, so even though the pinks came through, you weren't able to hit him. Still, he finds a drone. Still, stuck behind a table. It's good that he went for the drone, otherwise that would have been his life there. Now lives with just 10 HP. Still playing with the DMR, of course, but that's going to be quite a risky gunfight if he wants to take one.
Citizen with a spray and a pop over the top, wasting time, but there's the shield in the pixel position. Doki, he has a pixel's worth of health, and if he can make a connection here... Oh, well, he won't. Good boy. He's able to get that first take. He just needed one from the LMG. There is now a new player stacked up towards that angle. They've got that smoked. The grenade onto Train, but they just sprayed through it. It's Virtue once again with those glasses. There's the trade out. Alamau gets the revenge against it. Alamau gets one more. Said he wasn't the sort of body-positive killer in this game. Great take, Shile. But it's 2 versus 2. Alamau suffered in and amongst the engagement on the far side. MV Taylor was the man that zipped up to the top this time. The kit, though, is so isolated.
They don't know he's here, I believe. No one is currently watching it. He didn't pick up any kills in this round. He's just sneaking up. Ashalna comes up from the arcade stairs. Alamau doesn't seem to be aware. That's going to be the pickup. It's just up to Virtue now in a 1v2. He gets the first, turns around, but didn't know about MV Taylor down the arcade mezzanine. That is going to be the round for Sandbox, the all-important round, because we said it before, a 6-0 half is literally not on the cards. If that happens, the game is over. So with this Sandbox, they keep themselves alive to fight in that second half and see if they can do better than G2 on their defense.
Still 2 more rounds for G2. They're still within touching distance. It just means that they'll at least have to do some of it on their attack. Not the end of the world for a team that's pretty good at it, and pretty good at it against Sandbox. Wow, Sandbox. That's one. That's one on the start of a tricky road, and it was well put together, but it still came down to a 2 versus 2. There's always this consistent fight back from G2, and learning how to have a handle on that, learning how to have a hold on that sooner rather than later seems to be the methodology.
1-4, a repick coming through. The Ossa, the Glass, and an ace. Also Dokkaebi and a Finka. All right, full repick on Sandbox's side. Want to go for a bit of a different push and kind of, you know, looking at the pieces, trying to put them together. This could be, you know, under the cover smoke plans, using the talent shield as well to plant right behind it, have the Glass watch over the shoulder, maybe with a bit of pace here or there. At least that is what I was looking at as one of the opportunities when you see these operators. To be careful though, because there is a Yokai, there is a Warden, there is also smokes available on Alamau, so if you toss a smoke to plant in it, you're not very safe.
But there's the Glass.
Yes.
It's the first time we really get the taste of somebody that can counter the counter. Warden might find himself in a bit of a firefight unexpectedly across the board, and good boy can be accurate on his day. Is today that day? Because Virtue's definitely having a heck of a 1-7-3. He's making full use of fancy spectacles. Pressure starts to mount around the side of the player that was quite aggressive towards the top of Dragon Stairs in that little 90 corner, but they've pulled themselves back, quickly realizing just how much weight and heft is coming towards him. Hit the rotate before, well, he has no choice but to die to it.
G2 holding on to the chems here. 2 more minutes. They need to hold out and find themselves with a 5-1 lockout that first half. Shall go aggressive with the LMG. I believe that was actually just Doki firing back some shots with the MK14 right after he left. Talon shields are being set up just so they can have a bit of a flank watch towards the bathroom area, just to make sure that the cache room will not be overtaken. Alamau takes one of the shots.
That's the glass,
from the OTS rifle. It's actually the kill on Alamau, so that's smoke canisters off the board. That's a huge piece of utility that they no longer have to deal with.
Well, there's a fight with an MK14 and Doki. He is just that little bit more pinpoint accurate. The swing round, the glass is gone. Virtue can breathe a sigh of relief now because he can try and do the job he wanted to do before, but there's still the 2 smokes in the pockets of Arakaze. Has the chance to drive round. Static with the kit. He gets the wall open. He's going to get that a little bit wider and give themselves a little bit more control. Shire with a great grenade. Takes care of Citizen on the far side, the opposite side. Virtue's trying to step and stack in here again, playing the same angle he was able to pick the first kill onto before.
He's hoping for a smoke execute to come through, and they still have one available on Arakaze, so it's not too unlikely that it will happen. A grenade is currently being tossed in by Shao, won't find anybody. The plant is coming through in the meantime, though, but it is right behind the pillar. There's nothing Virtue can do against it, except for tossing his C4, but it lands a little bit too far. The plant will go through. The Yokai drone gets in place, will stop it at least temporarily. The cover needs to die, but doesn't quite die yet. Envy Taylor finds Doki below. It's only up to Prano and Virtue now.
There it is, Virtue. We can't quite get the catch on the angle. This will get connected. Can they get the revenge? Sees the back of the player. Static lives. And that's that important worry now because they know that Prano has snuck his way around onto a corner. They're watching the Ossa shield. That's the dance they're trying to do. They're pretty much saying, come on, man, take the fight. Well, they take it onto the site, but they've still got to get rid of that Ossa player. They're just waiting to see if they can get the pop-up. Can they hold the defuse tucked in? No, that's it. As soon as he put hands onto that, the swing comes round. Prano's going to hold it. There it is. The air jab, though, catches out the player. Prano gets one.
He gets two.
Prano gets 2. There's the last player swinging round. He's out of time, but Envy Taylor gets it anyway.
Prano almost managing to clutch the round there. Finds 2 in incredible fashion. Just unable to stick it or go for that final kill. And with that Sandbox, they fought back well. A 2-4 split is not something to be upset about. They head towards the defense themselves now. They know it is going to be a tall hill to climb, but it's definitely going to be possible. Armory Throne is going to be up first. It's G2 that need to attack it. Still 2 rounds, all they need, if they want to qualify themselves now rather than against FaZe. Said it well this time. Be proud, thank you.
I'm proud, I'm proud.
All right, Armory and Throne. Are we going to see a bit of a roam-like setup like we've seen from G2, or are we getting the turtle? That is going to be that big question, Emmy. Which of the 2 sandboxes will we see? Is it going to be similar to G2, or is it going to be something completely different? Something that they own themselves. Now, I can count 1, 2-ish players currently on the side. 1 near the barrels, just setting up some of these goo mines, just as a bit of an early warning sound. Hatches are being opened up as well, so the answer is going to be it's a roaming set from Sandbox.
I think that's the thing now. There's so much pressure on this first round. Sandbox need to have a good swing on their defense, but in the very same breath, if G2 take this first one, well, that's so much momentum. That's suddenly a 3-round difference. Once again, that's suddenly G2 1 round away from ending the game without the game really being ended. There's Virtue gone. Try with a quick hop out, sort of says hello, and then goodbye.
So the early engagements that take place outside of the building haven't really been working out for G2. First Doki with a spawn peek, Prano with a spawn peek, and now Virtue just being jumped out upon in the first 30 seconds of the round. G2 find themselves with a man down, but it's a situation they have been in many, many times before against Sandbox, and most of the time they were able to turn it back around. Can they this time, though? As the drones start coming in and try and take care of as much information and utility as they can, especially Doki on that Twitch, they're trying to isolate players that are currently offside, trying to get a bit of a grasp on what the current setup looks like. If they do realize there's only a single player on the side and the rest all is around the east, they can just go in for a push right through the Dragon Door.
No way this Twitch drone has done as much damage as it has and is allowed to escape. Slipped all the way, removed the protection onto yellow wall, and now they're just going to see if they can, I guess, drive that little bit extra further around onto the pressure above. C4 is ripped. Torn and ready to be loosed as soon as they get a scent of a G2 player on the other side of that wall. Obviously, the blow on the sledge is you cannot have as much vertical control as you wanted. But with the clarity that there's nobody else up here now, as the players have drifted their way back from the side of Sandbox, G2 have a little bit more space to breathe and think and try to start to blink away at the site.
There's still going to be players they need to remove in the actual site, though, and that's a great first shot from Prano. He's on a heater during this matchup. 7-on-2 currently, looking to open up. The grenade will come above the actual wall. That means that the exothermic will follow the snipe of the actual Nitro as well, making sure that the opening can take place. But the second grenade also tossed too far. Citizen needs to hit this one close so they can get rid of that Mew Gemmer. Will do exactly that and a little bit more. The impacts fail, and that means the wall has been opened up.
45 seconds now, and G2 being able to get that body balance back. As you said, Prano, he knows what needs to be done this game, and he's making sure it gets done. But the final step, can they try and find a way to get this plant down? Doki's rotating around, I assume towards barrels. It was half hard, half soft. Good boy. He's just on the other side as the call comes through. They're looking for that player. They're looking for the swing round. Good boy's going to lean into it. There's another player slightly further back. The smoke starts to come. Citizen's on the door itself. Static finds the first. Static, Arakaze gets the next. It's Alamau and Shyle either side. Citizen suddenly all that's left, 10 seconds. He has to drive his way through, but Sandbox, they get that important first defense.
They couldn't get rid of the one player that was inside the corner. Suddenly, like, you come in, imagine, right? You have 3 angles you need to cover. You have one on your left, one on your front, and one on your, like, all the way on the right. You come in, you need to clear out the one on the right first. This is the first threat. But you walk in and you watch towards the right, which means you open yourself up to all the other angles that are currently being watched as well by the defenders. And that's exactly what happened there. They try to clear out the player that was playing close. As a result, they make themselves vulnerable for the other remaining defenders on the site. And that allowed Sandbox to shut them down. 3-4. Still 2 more rounds for G2. We are still counting down. It's just going to be a very, very long second before we head towards the next one so far. And a regulation win is enough for Sandbox to continue fighting.
It is.
It is. Even with this scoreline, G2 would need to at least get 5 rounds against FaZe. If they manage to get 1 more, it's going to be 3 rounds against FaZe.
That's the sort of position the Sandbox were in, because none of their losses outside of really their previous game against G2 were hefty. As you said, there was 3 7-5s. Only one of them went into their favor, but they were almost the first team to beat FaZe. They were almost putting the pressure on and being in a very different position. They were almost maybe even close to qualified already if they'd have been able to take that FaZe game. But it's all about would you, could you, should you. All you can do now is
Yes. G2, where are you going to be able to find a round? Because, again, you do not need to take a point now. It would make life a lot more easy for you. But for the viewers at home and the true G2 fans who like to be tortured every now and then, it is good to let it come down to their very final game.
A minute passed. G2 trying to find anything, really, but that's Theme. Theme is a slow approach. It's trying to get the weight of exactly where you can put yourself. And you're looking at where they can put things. G2 has a lot of that in pockets. Alamau with those Candelas. Citizen with the chance at a quick zip through there, trying to find something big, bold, brash, and blinding on this, the backside of Break. He's ready to start hitting the hammer against this wall. They're trying to find maybe some attention here. Arakaze does have those specs. He might be able to do some of the play that Virtue did before, and that's actually what he's going to hope for. Turns the glasses on, depths either side. Nobody actually took the swing in behind it. No quick motion. There's another catch. There's another bit of a blind, but there's Citizen. Came up from underneath, found his quick way round. MV Taylor at least pulls one in the mix of it, but that was so blindingly sudden. They were distracted. Good boy trashes his own shield, so they don't have that against it. And trashes Alamau as MV Taylor gets another. MV Taylor gets another, leaving just Citizen to find this, the 2K and the 2-piece. wants to pop his head towards the first, isolate the fight, and see if they can try and just get a 1 versus 1. You can see Sandbox have pulled themselves slightly further back. One tucked on arcade stairs, one at the end of the corridor. They might be able to swing this, but 50 seconds is a lot of time to Citizen to just try and piece something together. He knows that there's a loose player either side, but he doesn't know which sort of side they're wanting to pop their head up from. Does he know about the one close on the left? Well, he's seemingly not going to risk it as of yet. Tucks into the site, looks for anybody just to give him something. Right next to him. It is. He is just there. A little shuffle, a little bit of movement. They pull back to Cafe. The pre-fire comes through. Citizen takes a huge amount of damage. Good boy. He's reevaluated his position. Now Tuck just round on the corner of the wall, and that cabinet there, 15 seconds, and he's still got to get the kit and get himself pieced back together. They've sprayed either side of the hard wall. They're just sort of keeping him guessing. Sandbox draw level.
And it was such a good start of the round there, Emmy. They managed to go for the distraction into break room. The warden paying attention, using those glasses, not like hearing the actual Amaru-Garahu going off, but not realizing it was the hatch from barrels that was breached as it gets picked up. They had an advantage. They managed to turn it around onto the side of Sandbox, and now it's leveled 4-4. G2, as they started off with 4 consecutive rounds, have now yielded 4 consecutive rounds. And Shas will be having a bit of a chat with his boys for his last defense. We have to say he will be leaving G2 afterwards. So let's see what he can do with all those years of experience, those world championships under his belt as the last remaining member of the dynasty. Is he going to be able to get them back on track to make sure that they at least pick up a round and possibly even 2 just to make their lives easier? And all these questions have answers, but we don't know them yet. And as the timeout runs out, that means that soon we'll be getting back into it. It is initiation, and it will be the office. Of course, still G2 on the attack. We haven't reached an LT yet where we do these swaps.
Attackers need to locate and
we have to see what the setup will be like for Sandbox. Is it going to be, again, extended? The answer is going to be yes. If you see those shotgun holes, frost mats to be set up. Those could be round changing. One right on the other side of the rotation, so you make a jump rotation. You don't look underneath, you just jump in and you need to go for the fight because you're in the middle of the site. You get yourself stuck in a frost map. The other one behind the control computers, which means that if they want to go quick for a plant behind a pillar, that's often the route that will be taken for the heart breacher that is going to plant. You get yourself stuck into that frost mat, suddenly the round is looking a lot dire. So, with that said, Sandbox, you've been doing well the last 4 rounds. Make sure you do continue to go on with this path and not what we've seen in the early game and the last game where you take necessary fights.
Oh, G2, what was that conversation about, and will it yield? I guess I'm going to say with a little asterisk the same results the Sandbox did. They actually lost the first round after their tag timeout, but then since then, as I said, have been able to thread the 4 needed to fight their way back in. Sandbox getting a lead in on their defenses. We always knew that was generally theme. Obviously, there are some outliers, and there have been outliers this tournament as to whether it's gone towards the side of the attackers or the defense, but this game statistically, not really an anomaly. Citizen on the roll of the Finker, tucking in around maintenance, around that supply line on the backside, seeing if they can get the steady control up over Dragon.
So it's coming through. Information needing to be gathered as G2 wants to make a decision. Where are we going to be pushing from? What strategy will we go for? Is it just going to be a straight-up plant, or do we need to push for kills? Soon Citizen, the IGL, will be finding out. Will be making that call. And they'll set themselves up for what is to come next in these 100 seconds that are still counting down. It is only 2 more rounds, and they find themselves secured for playoffs. They still have a lot of games to go for. One against FaZe and this one to play. Hatches are being opened still. G2 slowly pushing up that pressure.
What have they got an idea of here? Alamaus ripped and ready to go with the Gara hook. But you got to cover it with at least something. Citizen almost gets covered by everything there. A bit of a fight, and Alamau still itching to pull the trigger. Good Boy's holding onto the hatch here, making sure there's awareness on the drop. It was Good Boy. You assume to put the pressure down onto Citizen, trying to find his way around onto lockers. It's now in and a go. Static gets Doki, gets the first. There's Alamau, and Good Boy gets Citizen on the bottom of the stair set. They keep the body balance in their favor. Virtue's found his way in via arcade window and gets the header. Good Boy still screaming through this game. Virtue. Static's tucked. He's waiting for the rotate to happen round on the back. He's hoping that he's gone unchecked because he's close to the door of the site. No, it's Alamau. Tucked around, gets the kill, and suddenly it's back into the favor of G2. They're looking for the close fight here. Prano, he's got one on the door, but he's got Alamau and Virtue as support. They've slipped their way in. Envy Taylor. Alamau's in the frost mat. They're holding onto the door itself as Prano is going to hold F and get that kit stuck down. There is Virtue. And there is the first GT round in a long line of Sandbox.
I haven't been able to say it, but ever since I saw Alamau go into the break room window, I was like, he's going to get stuck in the frost mat. At some point, he needs to be jumping over, and he gets himself stuck in there. That's exactly what happened, but fortunately, it was that 3v1 in the end. The plant went down, the cover was on point. G2 able to lock off another round. And now it will be one more. They've at least secured themselves the luxury that if they would still lose it at this moment in time without an overtime to be on the cards, that all they need is 3 rounds against FaZe. So they have managed to unlock that scenario for themselves. But all what they need to do now to make sure they don't even have to worry about that game is to just get one more round. And then they're qualified. Then they will be going to playoffs. They will be yet again playing on the major stage. Like they did before, unfortunately back then, instantly taken out with a 2-0. But it's a different kind of G2 we're seeing compared to stage 1. I mean, the start of stage 2 was abysmal, but they managed to get back into it. They entered this tournament on good form.
Attacker's objective is to locate a bomb and defuse it.
Are they going to play a bit of a dangerous game here, Sandbox? They've got a bit of opener here. Static has the door, and he has an idea of wanting to swing out for the fight. The reveal comes, and, well, so do the players a little bit later on. He's going to go for it again. Try and find the fight the second time. Doesn't find it, pulls back. Might give them a bit of food for thought. I mean, they were very successful when they were approaching those windows, but they don't want to see if they can stick it out and be successful on the defensive side.
To try, but it's better to at some point just cut the loss and say, you know what, it is time to not actually go for another attempt at spawn peek here. The third time they probably will be ready to take me out. Drones being spotted and taken out by the Sandbox players, hoping to figure out what the G2 players are going to be coming from, and there was a jump in just there at maintenance, so that will be spotted. It's just a question of has the Yoka drone be spotted.
C4 to catch a ghost. Hoping that the player was a little bit closer, but it was just a drone that was trying to roll its way through. Static's holding onto this position. They have the ADSs, but they won't get the catch from that side. There it is, a Candela. Static was luckily already lined up, but so was Doki. Moves right behind it. Doesn't let them have the sprint all the way to the back end. Now they've been able to take that first body, that first powerful moment. With all their ADSs, with all of that, just not one tuck to the right angle.
They're opening up there. They want to breach onto Throne. Flashbangs are coming in, which means that the grenade follows shortly to get rid of the Mute Jammer. Gets it. Exothermic goes off. The first impact misses, and that means the wall has been opened up. So that's one objective secured for G2. Now all they need to do is clear the side, get that diffuser down, and with the 3 players inside, or 2, no, it's 3, it might be a tough ask. Because we've seen them fall there before when they couldn't clear all these separate angles, and Sandbox was able to bring it back.
Static will just be laser locked towards the Echo drone. I think there was one we saw around Dragon. You assume that's the one he's keeping a keen eye on to call any potential movement towards the breach itself. Otherwise, Good Boy, he has an idea of potentially rotating up. You can see G2, they're checking it. The Sledge, who was the first off the board last time, is able to do the work that they wanted. There's a ping on a player, the Yellow, towards Yellow, and they know, well, we're not going to go that way. Also were my discs. It just took the Candela from a slightly different door to absolutely circumvent all of that utility. The flashes come through. And so does Citizen. Takes care of MV Tail around the back of Yellow. The Candelas are going to start to scream, and that is going to get very close and very loud towards the door itself. They want to try and move and put pressure onto the back end. They're getting rid of that. 4 bodies stacked up. Citizen suffers next. Good boy gets Alam out. They try to drive through onto Split, but Citizen has that locked. It's only 10 seconds though. Prano has to stick the kit. Virtue sticks the cover. G2, they are mere seconds away from getting this into a 3. Technically 2 versus 1. Good boy. Can he keep the hopes, the chance, and the dream of playoffs alive? There's the first. He's looking for the second, but they've headed up. They're above with the vertical control. It's Virtues! G2 are going to playoffs. Sandbox. Frustration and a bit of head in hands. They were so close, but that first day is a bitter haunt. Unfortunately, regardless of what happens next, Sandbox will only pretty much stay in 3rd. So close, but G2 are our 2nd confirmed team moving out of this group.
And they've made it, and that means all the pressure is gone now. No more rounds needed. You're just playing for a victory now against Sandbox. And Sandbox, of course, they have nothing to play for anymore. They are confirmed 3rd. The group is slowly starting to end itself here. It's starting to wrap up. So how big of an kind of freedom will we see Sandbox now? Is this going to be like Unleashed Sandbox, or is this going to be demotivated Sandbox? Because an Unleashed team could be quite dangerous. Not that it matters anymore for them, because the result has been set in. But surely you would like to end on that slight high, on that win, on that victory, even though it would be 2 points, even though you lost your spot, your chance at the playoffs.
5 seconds left.
Well, it can't be easy knowing how close they were, not just with this game, but obviously with the litany of 5-7s they've suffered elsewhere. Sandbox put in a performance, and although they find themselves 3rd, they took it all the way to the end and the wire, and unfortunately another APAC team will not be progressing. Another EU team will from this group. I don't know if this is the first fully confirmed group off the top of my head.
I think it is. Unless, like, we have something going on a different stream right now.
That's
which is
it. That's what we don't know.
Time as well. Good boy. Just taking out Elamau casually there. Zero will be going into locked mode. Any damage to any piece of utility there, but it's better to just blow it up than have it shut out.
That's it. You might get lucky and take out something you didn't quite see, and well, that's the quick removal. There, they've picked themselves up, headed elsewhere for the approach. You can see Citizen is down by the maintenance door, so they're going to try and focus potentially around onto computers and the security side.
G2 now looking to find the entry. They are, again, buddy down, but they have been a buddy down so many times before. I think one of the previous games has just ended.
I think it's Gaimin versus XSET on the other stream. I don't know what that was.
It sounded like a Gaimin cry.
A Gaimin?
Yeah, Gaimin Gladiators cry. But Doki found himself deep inside of the initiation here. 2 players inside the office. If he manages to get the information out, he together with Citizen can try and lock them out. Suddenly you find yourself on a man advantage again. Open hatch will provide for a bit of carefulness. You don't know exactly what's going to be on the board. A lot of barricades, though. You will have to cut through. Costing quite a bit of ammunition. LMG reloading here to make sure he can continue to fight afterwards.
Well, it takes a while, and there's only a minute left of the round.
Yeah, that's sure. So you need to make sure that you're ready for that last 60 seconds.
Talking of, it's a 5 versus 4. The smoke starts to come through. Arakaze obviously can see through all of this. There's a fight that happens towards that lock-in. They're just going to get out of there before it becomes an absolute nightmare. Virtue's heading over to Cafe to put some pressure on the opposite side. Citizen moves behind it. They've fallen down the stair set itself. The blind to the top just to cover the rotation. There is a player directly underneath them. Do they know? And will this reveal be a little bit scary? The spray comes through. There was a bit of a pre-fire there. Good boy. He's doing his best to keep some awareness. There was the end of a blind, so he might have just got caught on the tail end of the one that hit the top of yellow stairs, but I don't know if G2 are fully aware. The pressure now breaking it straight onto the side itself. Player tucked onto break. The blind hits pretty much everybody, but it's Citizen able to find Shyle and find MV Taylor. Slips past that frost mat, looks towards it, and looks back as Arakaze is able to get Citizen. They're going for the plant itself. There's a spray round. Virtue drops the player. There's a confirmation, though, and the kit won't get picked back up. Just in the dying throes of it, Arakaze and good boy. Doki's going to hold F, but it's a Sandbox round. They're not done yet.
They're not done yet, although they get very quite close to be losing this one out. Just taking down that kid eventually crucial. to winning it here. Time slowly running out, bringing it back, even though the body balance wasn't in your favor. And one more map point here for the side of G2 before we head to overtime. And Armory Throne is the side that we will be heading to. It's going to be a tough one, but we've seen it do it successfully before.
Attackers need to locate,
and especially with the amount of players that Sandbox plays on the site, I wouldn't be surprised. Right? Okay, listen up. G2 is confirmed.
Yeah.
We know they like to go quick every now and then. If they do figure out there's just a single person inside, what stops them from just going into site quickly?
It depends how. Drone isn't that easy. Like, obviously, I think the way that they would do it, you assume would be around oil, because most attention is paid towards the opener on Dragon Door. Sure, there's the chance of verticality actually being watched from the top of the drum room down towards the window. If you're not obviously directly inside break, but usually around the hatch, you can have an angle and an impression of it, which is why they have that opener. But it's an opener. And split gives you, I think, a little bit more maneuverability. That is how it can be done.
I mean, even the barrel's wall has been opened up multiple times.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
It's open now, and they know this.
They can just try and use that. Of course, the majority of the defenders are actually going to be around barrels, not inside of it, but like above, in drug, in storage, on the arcade stairs, and then one person in the site. So you find yourself quite surrounded, but it's always going to be an opportunity. But before we get too much into that, it probably won't even happen. So G2 is finding themselves currently on the other side. Some on the roof, some still looking and eyeing themselves away in. Looks like they want to take that top floor control, at least around maintenance, so they don't have to worry about any potential impacts from above, putting up some pressure to them.
G2, I mean, they're confirmed at this point, but they probably still want the win. They're confirmed second at this point, but they probably still want the win. It doesn't really change the energy. When you're this deep into a game, you want to play it all the way to the end. They've had their celebrations, and I'm sure they'll have a lot more between now and the next following game. And then even after that, to be honest, the FaZe versus G2 showdown at the end of the day is probably going to be very exciting in its own ways. Here, the swing against the approach. They know that Good Boy's playing that warden role. They don't really have the smokes to go for the full kind of smoke-covered push, but they do have it in the pocket of the one person who's probably going to find themselves mano-a-mano with Good Boy.
Of course, there is still the opportunity for G2 to go for that very first seed. The pleasure to play against the second seed of any of the other groups that you haven't faced yet. Because currently, it is going to be G2 looking to put up pressure from all over the map. The majority of them are around the barrels. Grenades are being tossed in from Citizen, who is near Dragon. Quite able to connect. Virtue opening up from above as well, is looking to find some feed on his famous place near the drug area. Not able to find anything as of yet, but does definitely get some ping. So with the red ping now showing up as well, they know they're rotating back towards the side. They need to be quick, and as Alamau will find static, this could be the beginning of the end right here. Very tight angle, won't find anybody from there, but definitely this opening could be helpful for Alamau.
Alamau, he's looking to see if they can get a loose catch. There's a player inside drug. There's Shyle. Sprays through the soft and takes the head off of Alamau, and he's putting pressure onto the bottom of yellow. He's somehow able to slip his way back. He is single-handedly causing so many problems for G2 because you're looking at 20 seconds. You're looking at them still having to drive themselves into the site. Do they take the loose player, or do they try and take it? Well, they've taken you, MV Taylor. He's come to offer some support. Good Boy is there too. And there's Sandbox. Virtue's inside sight, but not for very long. We're going to OT.
And we'll need at least 14, maybe 15 rounds to figure it out. These last couple of games in this group really do go down to the wire. And of course, again, confirmation is there. Sandbox, all they play for is their honor right now, and for the experience, and just to be proud of themselves that they managed to bring it to the place where they brought it. An Armory Throne is chosen again by Sandbox. And you might be wondering, if you're a new viewer, why is it normally locked? But now it's not. And that's because overtime it resets the locked side, so you can go back towards the site you've just played before, which is Armory Throne. And thus they do so as they found success there. Now the playoff probability, we can basically lock that off. Overtime is already on the board, whether it be a loss or a win, which means it's going to be the center to 100% for G2, the center to 0% for Sandbox Gaming. They fought well, but unfortunately, after this game, their story ends.
Attackers have located a bomb.
Statistically, with how this game has gone, with 8 of the rounds going to the defenders, Sandbox are in a good position here to confirm this, just based on the numbers of the game itself. Obviously, we've seen some sites a bit back and forth throughout that, but Throne hasn't been one of them. Throne so far...
Spawn big on Salamau again.
Yep, there goes Alamau.
G2 really hasn't been winning these spawn big battles.
No.
It's a 4-on-0 right now for the side of Sandbox.
But it's also 4-0 on the side of Throne being a successful defense. It has not been lost by the defenders this game as of yet. You assume it's going to be the first one G2 picks when we're on to the next round as well. But, as I said, that defense statistic is something that works in the favor of Sandbox.
Of course, they have that going for them. And the way they play it as well, they play it a lot like on and around the side. Not maybe as heavy as around what we've seen from G2 before. And what we know when like from G2 as well is that they have very set timers to fall back. 1 minute 30, they all head back towards the side. You don't see that from Sandbox. Sandbox does that on intuition. Whenever the pressure gets too high, they start falling back and they make sure that they can fight the fight inside.
Can G2 break statistics, take this site for the first time, an attack team able to do the damage with a body less as well? Obviously the loss of Alamau on what could have been quite a big role. You're looking at obviously Pyjamas, you're looking at a mix of Y-disc explosives, things to be removed by a Twitch, but the Twitch was removed within the blink of anything. I don't even think they deployed a drone, let alone utilized it. So it starts here. The approach over the top. Static suffers. Playing around Arcade, they've been able to have a couple of big moments. The Capcan, they're going to potentially play, no, I was going to say a little bit longer here, but instead dip away, as does the player that was around Bunks too. They've slipped back towards a slightly different position, dropped onto the hatch. There's a double fight. There's Citizen finding the first, and, well, he takes a lot of damage on the second. Arakaze might try and find the tail end of this, doesn't, dips away, but does a lot of damage to a Finker that's now going to have to use some charges to keep themselves going.
As we push on, G2 going to be able to find what they are looking for. Still afraid of any potential roamers up on the top floor. Once you don't really have the time and luxury anymore to think about it. There's 44 seconds on the clock. The rotation is being held here as Citizen jumps in towards the barrels. Wants to use that, of course, whereas the rest of G2 needs to get in position to allow themselves to go for an execute. Walls have been opened up, I believe. I heard an exothermic go off just a little bit earlier, but I wasn't quite sure if it was the hatch. No, the wall opens up now. Onto yellow, as Arakaze gets picked up by Citizen.
Citizen has now single-handedly brought this round back into the body balance favor. Good boy goes down next. Giles with a huge swing gets the kick cold. And with only 10 seconds, they've got to quickly recollect it. Waiting above the hatch, that's a grenade that's going to drop slightly differently, but he looks the wrong way. Caught by barrels, a handful of seconds. MV Taylor finds one, cannot get Virtue. And Throne falls for the first time.
Second time, actually.
Was it the second time?
Yeah,
when
G2,
else?
G2 in round 10 was able to get Armory Throne as well with a defuse.
Oh, yeah. And once again there, Virtue had the cover of the plant. He ended both rounds twice.
He did.
Gives the cover and the support.
And now we head back to Armory Throne again. So maybe we'll see for a 6th time now, I believe. Oh, is it the 7th even? I'm going to count. Hold up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
See if it falls again. But this time by the hands of Sandbox Gaming, as they're coming up against G2, who find themselves another match point.
How did I forget the Citizen 4K that opened the game?
Located a bomb.
Shows how long and intense this game's been.
It is a very long game.
Shows how much was on the line.
No question this time though from MV Taylor. Where is KD? Because we haven't had him drop or rehost like that.
There is KD.
There is KD. 11 on 9. Virtue on the other hand though, 17 on 8.
Pretty great game.
Pretty great game from the Aussie.
10 seconds to insertion.
Or so Dev and Mandy walk around and was like, my countrymen are here.
5 seconds left.
I need to show up. We need to go to playoffs. As of course, no, Australian team actually.
Attackers are heading out to defuse a bomb.
No, not this time around. Or OC team.
That is another way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You said the same thing twice, but
just getting the New Zealanders in there, you know, it's to be inclusive. The entire OC region.
I think we know you meant the region. All right, Citizen. What do we think you know? A little bit of a devil dance with an MPX out towards the window of lab, but good boy. He's been a bit hit and miss on these fights. Sometimes he's able to drive through with the finger, and sometimes he doesn't quite get the full connection. Does a bit of damage, but we've seen the damaged players come back and massively impact around later. So just getting the swing and the take onto the heads of G2 could be a difference maker here, removing some of the puzzle pieces earlier than otherwise.
2 minutes, counting down, potential last round. G2, how they play this side is usually very roam heavy, but as soon as like somewhere between a minute, 30 seconds and 2 minutes, they start to fall back. They all head back towards the side and they play it turtle. That way, they leave the attackers guessing. Like they drone it out, they see players, a little bit of a fight occurs, and suddenly they're all gone. You have to re-drone it. Are they really gone, or are they just hiding? And that's what they're currently trying to find out here, is there is still G2 players around, but surely in about 10 seconds they will start dropping back towards the site. At least that's what they usually do, so please.
It is what they usually do. I think they're waiting to see if maybe they can get in at least a scrap, because, oh, there it is. There's the movement that you wanted at that mark.
30 seconds, exactly.
Doki goes one way and Prano suffers because of it. Doki actually changed his mind. There it is, Good Boy gets the first, the hopping around arcade, and Prano's actually going to see if he can move back in, but Good Boy had left. At that, they've set themselves up just on the door. There's a drone reveal. They're going to see if they can get the fight over the hop, but they barely make it. Shyle has the cover. Prano went with an idea, but unfortunately it doesn't quite work out in his favor. Now a 5 versus 3. And actually, if we're going to talk about that opening round at the very beginning of the game, where Citizen got the 4K, it did open with Sandbox getting a couple of bodies into their favor. It was a 5 or a 4 versus 2 was the clutch back by generally Citizen.
5v2.
Yeah. And then Prano got the 1 at the top. Shyle gets Virtue, and now it's down to Citizen and Alamau. The slight difference, the drive first is Citizens. Tucks tail, Alamau gets MV Taylor, and suddenly we're starting to have those worrisome flashbacks. Move away from the breach, give themselves some safety. That keeper barrier is going to give them a little bit more jiggle width. The ping comes through. They're asking Yap for a second one. There's, ooh, the break on the fuse. And the second.
Yeah, he's just trying to pop them off. The breach gadget isn't on the pockets there, but one more gets picked up. Alamau drops. It's only up to Citizen now in a 1v2 situation. Finds one. Is this going to be a repeat of history? The time is sticking out. He needs to go for the plant. The clock will hit 0, and Citizen will go for a run. He will win again. Go for the clutch, and G2 will win it again from a 5 versus 2 perspective. A second clutch in a row.
2 for 2 on Citizen, clutching out 5 versus 2s on that site. The start of the game and the end, but it ends with G2 moving forward. I mean, we knew that at the turn of the half.